All right, I'd like to call the Warren County Commissioners meeting to order, please. Before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I just wanted to do a little memorial to Sheriff Larry Kopko, who passed away on Thursday afternoon, November 17th. He was with the U.S. Marine Corps. He was a resident of Warren for 44 years. He also was the sheriff, and as the sheriff here in Warren County, he was instrumental in the DUI effort, having deputies participating in DUI roadblocks, the Buckle Up program, and domestic violence task force. He retired from the county in 2012 after 20 years as serving sheriff, and is remembered by his family as a man who always put his family first, loved spending time with his wife, children, especially his grandchildren, and he will be greatly missed by all who knew him and loved him. So as we go through the call to order, we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I would ask that you would share an additional moment of silence for Sheriff Kopko.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just going to announce to those who are here today that the meeting is going to be recorded. We have not had any executive sessions since the last meeting, and there's nothing under correspondence received or outgoing. We do have members of the public here, so if anybody has a public comment, more than happy if you could just state your name, where you reside, and your interest in being here.
Hi, my name's Gregory Burkett. I live at 6492 Pleasant Drive. And I don't know if it's appropriate for me to sort of make a small presentation now concerning broadband, or at a later time or something.
That's fine. But
okay. First I started out to say, did a research on Warren Times Observer website, just put in broadband. You know, last 2, 3, 4 years, probably over 2 dozen articles about broadband. I don't see too much taking place or getting done. As I go through that, it kind of brings up some resources that are available online, which I read. The one, may I sit down? I can't read the monitor as easy. One of them is the Joint State Commission on High-Speed Broadband for underserved and unserved areas. That came out in June of this year. And Warren County is very poorly represented in that report. It's so short, I can say. Warren County, it says there are 20 communities identified, and 2 that have 100% coverage for fixed internet. And then all it has is Chandler's Valley. It has the maximum speed in Tyuna, and that's it. Most other counties, they're measuring their download speed in gigabits, where we're at megabits. The second resource is the Pennsylvania Broadband Map. I have mixed feelings about it. I don't know how useful it is, but people that are in the industry may be able to interpret it better than I can. But in that, what I found was very interesting was there's a gentleman by the name of Harry Chrissy who works for the Penn State Extension in Youngsville. And he and his team are actually responsible for making sure that this map is up to snuff. And when I talked to him, I said, "Oh, you have any, have any contact with the commissioners?" "Well, no, not very much." But I think that resource is going to have to be used, in my opinion. The third resource that just came out on Friday is a Federal Communications National Broadband Map. And maybe that's the most important thing for me to be here, because there's a lot of inaccuracies in it. It's a very user-friendly website. You just go FCC broadband map, comes up, put in your address. It shows a nice little map of dots. It probably came from the census that identify locations, and then it has a list of providers. My concern is my address comes up as Breezeline, basically, is my provider, and I can get 1,000 megabits download speed. Well, that's not the case. I've talked to Breezeline. They have no intention of coming out my area. But the problem is, if this FCC map is not accurate, federal funding will not come down the pike, because the funding is for underserved and unserved areas. By looking at the map, the federal information, it says we are. So that has to be corrected. And I talked to Harry about how, email maybe Harry, and he said that, like, there's a way, like I went in myself, there's a way to correct your address. Some of my neighbors I've contacted asking them to also correct that. But Harry said there's a way that the county can correct the whole road to say it wants bulk. So in my opinion, that has to be done. And I'll say finally, I guess, I've also learned that is there a broadband task force in Warren County?
There is a broadband task force. Let me just address a little bit of what kind of we have going on.
Okay.
So when we received ARPA money and it was eligible for broadband, we actually went to third-party providers and asked them what their footprint was in Warren County.
Okay.
WestPA.net, Windstream, Breezeline, Kinetic, and they shared with us what they would propose as an expansion, and then they shared with us, potentially what that would cost. So that would be taking our funds, giving it to a third-party provider to help them expand their network. And initially, that was what our intent was. And then broadband money came along, and the Commonwealth got broadband money, and there's also a very large swath of funds as well for at the national level. So we realized that instead of taking those dollars and maybe using it to expand broadband to a very small group of people, that perhaps we could use them as a match for some of these larger grants. We did receive a grant from ARC for almost $1 million. We put an RFP out. We received 2 applicants. Neither of those applicants could actually meet the spec requirements of the grant. One was required to reach the number of households. The grant application did not. The other one proposed that they would own the assets themselves, and that wasn't going to be allowed. So with that all occurring, and Commissioner Eggleston did a really super job of putting together an RFP for broadband expansion consulting services. So this plays exactly into today's meeting, because we are going to release this RFP in Washington and Greene counties. They've done the same thing.
Right.
So we're going to connect with them and look at those parties who have responded and actually circulate this particular proposal to them, which will include consulting, grant writing, footprints. And I do agree with you. There's not a lot of maps that are super accurate, and they're not for a reason. And so we are kind of gonna find a way to go behind the scenes and prove that we are an underserved area. So so now we're in, that particular mode to look at overarching, what can we do with what we have and how many households could we reach if we were utilize these as first dollar investments, or if we were utilize them as a match for some of this federal grant funding. And additionally, the Commonwealth has a broadband task force, and they're putting together a comprehensive plan for the next 5 years as well. So what I personally don't want to do, and I don't know how the other commissioners feel, but put all of our ARPA money out, recognize that it could be used for a match for a grant to reach more people. So that's really why we're looking for this actual consulting services to put together a broadband network, map it, and then know where we're going.
Okay. Is the ARP money, was that the Spring Creek, Spartansburg?
Yes.
But there was more proposals than just two there. Did Youngsville Cable, were they awarded that contract?
No. They didn't meet the specifications of the RFP.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the problem.
Okay, so none of them, neither of them did, or what's his name? Okay.
Yep. So we're going to get there. Like I said, we just don't want to spend all of our first dollar money knowing that we could reach more households if we use it as a match for a grant versus investing ourselves.
Okay.
So that's where we are in the process. But we
Yeah.
have identified multiple areas by third-party providers that are interested in expanding. We just believe that we can hit more households by perhaps using it as a match for all of these dollars that are out there
Yeah,
for
they're
grants.
supposed to be.
Yeah.
And are you coordinating with the school district? My other
Yes.
question, okay. Because my travels, I'm seeing these contractors, I stop and I ask them, they're, SBA, we're putting it in top of Brown Hill, we're Samuelson Road, down Wilder, they're just like everywhere.
Well,
And I'm not exactly sure how, I didn't see any I saw publicity in the newspaper that they were going after the money, but I don't exactly understand how they awarded without maybe going through the grant process.
And that's happening as well. The third-party providers who are for-profit entities are reaching out to other arms of government to try and expand their networks as well. So
Yeah.
we want to make sure we're using each dollar wisely and not overstepping somebody else who's already intending to build out fiber and reach those homes.
Okay, I was surprised that, Armstrong goes clear up to almost the urban plan and also up Grunderville Road. Forrester Restaurant, it's only 2 miles from, let's say, from there to the next residence on Lenhart. And it'd be much easier for Armstrong to come up and serve Pleasant, but when I talked to people from Armstrong, they said, that's Riesline's territory. So I'm not
Yes.
exactly sure
It's very complex.
how that, I know phone companies have their territories, but I'm not sure about the cable companies. Well, I guess that's,
A couple of things that I would add rather quick. First of all, you were right to bring up Harry Chrissy as a resource. Harry Chrissy, we've met with him many times and gone through his maps and information, and he's been a very good resource for everybody as a I'm not going to say a free consultant because he works for Penn State or whatever, but as providing information that's helpful. The territorial piece is partially because the way the Fed money is set up, it's set up to not pay for infrastructure that's already there. So if a company has a presence in a community,
Yeah.
another company isn't going to be able to take that grant money from the Fed to build on top of the network. And so there are a lot of challenges with that. And that's part of the complexity is like the regulations at the federal level associated with it. That's why some of that stuff may not make sense. Odd that the Fed wouldn't make sense, but that's kind of one of their issues. So.
And we also want to make sure we're engaging with a third party that's got a lot of experience in grant writing and knows where to look. Because with both federal dollars and state dollars and our local ARPA money, we don't want to actually walk past each other and miss an opportunity or do something that's duplicative. So, but thanks for bringing it up. It was perfect timing, so.
Okay,
Thank you. Absolutely.
May I add just a couple more things about what we're talking about? I just met him this morning, this afternoon, this morning, but we talked on the phone yesterday. That's why I'm here. I've never been to one of these, so.
Could we get your name and address, please?
Yes, Chris Oviatt, and it's 9300 Pleasant Drive.
Thanks.
I'll just go over a couple of things that I've already done in regards to Verizon and our service. I had sent 6 certified letters, Kathy Rapp, Governor Wolf, the FCC, the Better Business Bureau, and a couple other ones, PUC as well, in regards to, and I have notes, I won't bore you with them, with many conversations with Verizon. And Kathy Rapp never replied to me. I got a printed letter from the governor's office saying, yeah, we're doing everything we're gonna be able to do, bear with us. Better Business Bureau sent a ticket for us to Verizon, nothing, well, something did actually come of that. I'm gonna digress for a second. I just found out that Pennsylvania has the Bill of Rights for
yeah,
the least
Pennsylvania bill,
amount,
right?
Pennsylvania bill, for the least amount of, I guess, service, should be 1.554 or 154. We get practically 0.14 if we're lucky. That's not even 1. So if there's a bill, a law, how is that possible? Now, I'll just end this with what Verizon said, because I'm not done with my part with Verizon. Our box, I'm adding this because you just said that no company wants to touch what's there. We have a box. It is, Verizon already told me, it's copper wires. We're never going to fix it. We're never going to enhance it. You're never getting FiOS. So pretty much what you have is what you get. That's it. That's how they left it. I'm going to pursue, now that I know there is such a bill, that I'm not even getting 1. Paying for up to 25, my bill, I have to have, we have a phone, we have to have internet. But I just wanted to reiterate, and what I had, just so my name is out there, and I have issues with this as well. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I totally understand, and we've heard from many people in this community, and so we're trying to do what we can to find that service to take care of our community.
One more thing, I'm sorry. When COVID hit and the kids were, because we have some children on the Hill, they call it the Hill, there were hot spots for them to Zoom and all that. Is that something that anybody's looking into, or any of this money can go for something of that nature? Because they Zoomed and they did their homework and it worked for them.
I think it's the school district, and
That's their hot spots?
That's their hot spots, yeah.
And it was fully funded by CARES Act money at the
Yeah.
time, which expired.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, that's all, thank you.
Very good. Any other comments before we move on to the consent agenda? All right, so going on to the consent agenda, we have the minutes of the November 9th public meeting. Take a look at them and see where we stand. And if there are any modifications to those.
In here.
Okay. Jeff, any? Okay. Secondly is the finance report.
Yeah, we have $6,184,667 in the bank as of today. $1,245,734 is in our savings account. Our budget is just about ready. I'll have it ready for your review next week. And that's the update from the finance department.
Okay. Taxes are rolling in. It's good. I'm glad to hear that. In comparison to prior year, we're a little, it looks like we're a little farther ahead of the game, which is wonderful. Very good. All right, there are 2 proclamations to be read today. The first is Small Business Saturday, and the second is Thanksgiving. Commissioner Eggleston, would you mind paraphrasing the Small Business Saturday one?
It would be my pleasure. Let's see. Whereas according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 31.7 million small businesses in the United States, and nearly half of all Americans are employed by small businesses. Studies have shown that supporting the growth of small businesses produce the majority of economic growth in a community, and that entrepreneurs and small business stimulate job creation, develop crucial innovation, and promotes the diversification of local economies. Small businesses are the backbone of Warren County's economy, and the local small businesses support our community in the way of wages, taxes, donations to local schools and charities. The County of Warren supports our local businesses that create jobs, boosts our local economy, and preserves our community. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of Warren County, do hereby proclaim November 26, 2022 as, I think that's my birthday, as Small Business Saturday. And we urge all residents to make a special effort to support our small businesses on Small Business Saturday and all year long.
So both your birthday and
Small Business Saturday.
There you go.
So you can support small business by buying me a coffee.
So there you go. Commissioner Eggleston, would you mind reading the proclamation for Thanksgiving, please?
Sorry, Commissioner who?
Oh, why? Whoops. Strike that.
As you know, in summer of 1620, the Mayflower set sail and came to the United States, coming in the fall, early winter, and many did not survive that trip. The Wampanoag tribe, Massachusetts Bay Colony, were very instrumental in helping them to endure the first year, and had a relatively bountiful harvest in 1621, and they shared a fall festival, if you would, and that tradition has carried on throughout different iterations throughout American history, different times, and finally it wasn't until the Civil War actually that Abraham Lincoln actually made it its own federal holiday consistently, and it has been celebrated as we currently know it ever since the Civil War. So Warren County would like to, as is our tradition, set November 24th as Thanksgiving Day, celebrated here in Warren County, and would ask that our citizens and employees, first of all, show humility for the bountiful gifts that we've received over the last year, and for the gratefulness and charitable spirit that we have our jobs and our mission here in the county government.
Thank you. Could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, as we move forward into old business, we do not have anything under that agenda. The next, under new business, are multiple agreements. The first with Tyler Technologies for training. This is for training for the fiscal staff on the software that we have for $2,500. Looks like it's specifically related to additional education training for purchase orders and general ledger. Any comments, Lisa?
We appreciate that you put this on the agenda. We could use this additional training. Also, we have some budget questions and things we think that they can help us with.
Okay, great, that's fine. Could I get a motion to approve the agreement with Tyler Technologies for training for $2,500?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any comments? Okay. All those who are in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next up on the agenda is inmate pharmaceutical care that is going to be provided by Darling Apothecary. This is going to be a 3-year agreement beginning in November of 2022, and there is a list of all of the top 50 medications and the fee structure for those, for the jail that will be in place for the next 3 years.
I spoke with Chris Darling. There was just one small edit that I cleared with him. So it recites a limited liability corporation
Yes.
at the top,
Yes.
which would be a limited liability company.
Yep.
And it would be DBA as Sugar Grove, Darling Sugar Grove Health Mart Pharmacy, since the Apothecary is not really open on Market Street anymore. I wanted to tie it to when the
okay.
actual pharmacy is still open.
Okay. All right.
So I gave Pam those edits by email.
Okay.
So Otherwise,
Okay.
has my legal approval.
Okay, so subject to those edits to the agreement, could I get a motion to approve this, the pharmaceutical care services?
So moved with Solicitor Schmidt's edits.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right. Any comments? Conversation, okay?
I'd just say that this is a renewal of an agreement
Yes.
that we've had previously. We've been happy with Darlene's services on the jail, so see no reason to not continue them.
All right. All those signify by saying aye. Who are in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, and moving forward, the next item on the agenda is Larson Kyle Architect proposal. And it looks like, Jeff, this came to you. Would you mind just giving a little description?
Yeah, so in order to execute the renovation, to finish the renovation of the exterior of the building, this is essentially a contract with Larson that will allow us to utilize them as essentially a project manager and a person that's going to produce all of the RFPs for the exterior work that needs done. You know, in other situations where you have buildings, you know, we might put out an RFP ourselves or have the maintenance department put them out. In this case, we have a historic building that has a lot of, you know, intricate pieces that need to be, in some cases, recreated in order to maintain the aesthetic. Secondarily, we're also looking to go after grant funding for to help pay for the exterior renovation through the Historic Museum Commission. We've tried to put in one previous grant application, and in the feedback that was brought back to us in the denial, it essentially stated that we needed more detail in the work and what exactly the work that we're going to do. So part of this agreement is for them to put that information together so that when we put a grant app in January, February timeframe, that it'll have more architectural detail in it. The renovation piece that's being discussed here is, you know, it has mostly to do with all of the space below the roof line. Several years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago now, we had the roof renovated, the clock tower, and some other pieces. So those are in good shape. We're looking to do the same for everything below the roof line. So that's part of this. A part of this also has to do with some of the steps and some other things that have deterioration of the concrete and a few other things associated. So this should technically, this isn't the cost of that work per se, it's the cost of putting together all of the instructions, RFPs, information for grants, and whatnot. That's why the total is quite a bit. So in order to do this, the total cost is $26,200, but that's for all of the work that's going to need to be done on a project that's probably going to cost $250,000, if not more, in order to do all the work. And just to remind everybody, this isn't like re-siding your house. The building's 150 years old. There's you know, a lot of things, like even as an example, when we had the roof redone, there were whole stretches where the wood had been rotten, had rotted out, and they were hand carved like pieces that needed to be refabricated and then put in. So we had to hire. Unfortunately, the organization we had wasn't just any run-of-the-mill carpenter. They were people who renovate historic buildings. They were able to find or able to fabricate pieces in order to put into the roof in order to replace them, and that's that is the price of having a historic courthouse building, is that those types of things need to be done. So
Very good. Can I get a motion to approve the proposal from Larson Architects?
So, second.
oh, okay.
Okay. Any comments?
Does
Questions?
anybody have any questions about any of that? No.
No? Okay. All right, all those who are in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, one additional Pennsylvania Health Cooperative, Health Insurance Cooperative, the 2023 funding option. This looks like it's a renewal with our health insurance purchasing cooperative, which is with PCHIPC. And Warren County, we will agree to set aside about $775,776 to pay for the budget and expected insurance costs for the incoming year. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve this 2023 funding option?
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Any comments, questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
The only thing I wanted to add is the $700,000+ is the surplus that we have, which is due to our current insurance functioning very well. Like, so we've built up a surplus, so that's why we can utilize it.
Set aside for insurance. Okay, very good. The next is government software services for contract for Homestead / Farmstead printing. I believe this is also a renewal. Pam, would you just describe a little bit here? I see your notes on the terms and conditions of GSS.
They'll print approximately 600 letters at the 35 cents each. And Brian Bowles stated that also this is reimbursed by the school districts.
Okay, very good. So we engage in a contract, the school district reimburses it, and this is for about 600 of those letters at 35 cents each. Can I get a motion to approve the agreement as it's laid out in our packets?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right, any comments, questions? All those who are in favor, just signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. And the next contract, a lot of contracts. So it's the electronic monitoring service agreement, another renewal, with BI Incorporated. And I believe that these are monitoring services associated with the jail.
Juvenile and adult probation.
And juvenile and adult probation, thank you. So it's for 1 year from the effective date. And then Schedule A has a list of various and sundry units and their price and cost per day. Could I get a motion to approve this software services with Warren County and BI Incorporated?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, all any comments, questions? All those signify they are in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, and last item of agenda on under new business is resolution 3232. It is establishing a non-uniform pension plan for the employees of the Warren County Solid Waste Authority, and this will be effective January 1, 2023. Since we are eliminating and putting to bed the Solid Waste Authority, any type of activities that are going under that need to be continued on are being managed by the county, and this actually attaches their pension. So could I get a motion to approve the resolution 3232?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, all right. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Stop.
No,
Okay.
it just, yeah, the Solid Waste Authority is sunsetting. There's I think 2 people, or is there 1?
There are 2 people collecting and 1 that is vested.
Yeah, so this is just getting folded into the county pension plan from the Pennsylvania Municipal
Retirement
System. Yeah.
This resolution is a product of a phone call that Pam arranged with members of PMRS. I got to speak with their counsel. They had draft forms of this, and so there'll be a counterpart resolution for the solid waste authority to sign as well. Then one final meeting here before the end of the year.
Okay, all right. All right, so that's everything under new business. So, excuse me?
Sorry, we didn't vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, that's right. All those, we did a motion in a second. All those signify that they're in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Got it, okay. Any commissioner comments?
Well, one thing that kind of came out of the CCAP conference that you and I were in, particularly in that one class that I'd like to explore further, would be potentially using some of the opioid settlement funding for intermediate punishment, either facility or more expanded services. I thought that was one good thing that came out of the conference. And I think it sounds like a task force. I know we've tried that before, tried to get the prison board and such engaged. I think we may need to actually create a task force for the use of those opioid funds. It sounds like that's a best practice in the other counties. So other than that, the CCAP conference went well, but those were really the only action items that I thought that came out of it just immediately.
Commissioner Eggleston, anything, any comments from
No.
you? No? Okay. The only thing I would say is I see we have members of the city here as well as Jim Decker from the chamber. I know that you had voted, I believe it was at your last council meeting, to expand your support of the Riverfront Development Program from $500,000 to $750,000. And I believe, Jim, you had also sent a communication to the Board of Commissioners here requesting the same. And I was remiss for not getting this on the agenda because we were at a commissioners conference and have been dealing with budget, so I do apologize for that. But I didn't know if you had any comments or anything that you wanted to share with the commissioners.
When would you be able to get it back on the agenda?
Our next meeting is December 14th. Yeah. So.
Does that meet with your timeline?
Yeah, it is, because
Yeah.
this thing is gonna get kicked off until about 2025 with all the engineering studies and environmental and what have you. So,
Well, I mean, I've shared with you that I am, supportive of the county using some of its funding for this because I do believe that, a rising tide does lift all boats, if you will. And I think that this will be not only beneficial for the city and the fact that you've made a commitment of all of your ARPA money to it, I think it'll also be beneficial to the rest of the community and the county as well.
The application for the boat launch is due December 23rd, so that's where the timing is where, when that application is due, there's a line that says, where's the match?
Which
We're
application?
looking for your folks for what additional support that you can do for the RCAP business plan.
Very good. Any other comments? If not, make a motion to adjourn.
Well, I was going to say you wanted to talk about the RFP. Just more officially. I don't know.
Just, Jeff reminded me that we are planning on putting out the RFP, request for proposal, for the broadband expansion consulting services, and we're intending to get that RFP out in the near future, meaning today or within the next few days, given the holiday, so that we can move forward on a really, really good footprint of the broadband that we have, of what's out there, opportunities for grants, planning, those types of things. Looking for people who have expertise, who've done this in other counties before, to assist Warren County in our plan.
The goal would be to have responses hopefully by the end of the year, and then also incorporate budget allocation in this coming year's budget to have proper consulting service to go through the year in order to do evaluations and make a proper plan for executing an expansion.
All right. If there's nothing else to be said, I have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.